It's showtime, folks. Enjoy the show.
And a fine Saturday morning to you.
Good morning. It's just the two of us. Can we re-rank 2001 because Pete's not here?
Let's
Can we do that?
Yeah, he'll just cut it out since he's editing it.
But that won't change the chart if we change the chart. Go ahead, Pete.
True.
Go ahead. Then he'll go in and just re-rank it himself. So we got to play fair.
Yeah, right.
Got to play fair.
So how's your movie week been?
Non-existent.
One of those weeks.
Non-existent. Well, JJ and I recorded the trailer rewind this week, so that'll be, I think, dropping next week. I think it'll be showing up there out in the feeds. It was we did the second part because last month we did Leave No Trace, but on that same sat mat, your trailer was Woman Walks Ahead. Pete did Leave No Trace, and that had a connection to him in Portland, and then you picked Woman Walks Ahead because, as you said at the time you picked that trailer, it was somebody you knew worked on that. So, and of course, JJ loves Jessica Chastain, so I couldn't deny him that experience. So that was...
Who doesn't love Jessica Chastain?
Exactly. So, but that's
cool.
pretty much it. I haven't gotten out to the theater in forever because I was hoping to see like Ad Astra, and then it got mixed reviews, and then I'm horrible because if I don't see it like that first or second weekend, then like all the fun goes out of it. I'm like, I guess I'll just catch it at
Too much work.
Go out to the theater. I don't know. And then,
because then you look and it's like, well, now there's like 10 things I have to see.
Yeah.
I can't see them all. I'll just quit.
Or it's moved to like a smaller theater, because it's like, if that was what I thought, I'll go see it on like a really big screen. Then it, moved to like the theater with like 20 seats in it. I'm like, well, I'll just wait for home. And then I'm debating this weekend, I think tomorrow and I think Tuesday or Wednesday, it's Alien 40th anniversary, but it's it's a Fathom event at an AMC. Oh. So like tickets are like $16. And I thought, I don't know. It's one of my favorite movies. I don't know that I need to pay that much to see it on the big screen. I don't know. It's hard to.
Did you see it when the director's cut was released theatrically?
No, I didn't. No.
Early 2000s?
No, I didn't. So
I went and saw it. It was fantastic seeing it up on the big screen. So I mean, I know it's expensive, but I would still recommend it. Do you know if it's the director's cut?
I do not know if it's the director's cut because, as we've learned with Ridley Scott, if there's a director's cut, that's usually the version to go see, right?
Yeah, and Alien is an interesting one because obviously the whole, the egg creation thing at the end of it that's included in it. But I don't know. I still really enjoy it. I don't have too much of a problem. I'm just looking on Fathom events right now, trying to see. They don't even say if they have any special things.
Right. That's the other issue. I'm like,
here you go. It includes exclusive insight from Turner Classic Movies.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So we'll have what's his name talk for 2 minutes, and that's So when you get that extra something, maybe, but So I'm
I took the kids. It was a family thing when they did the extended cut of Iron Giant.
Oh yeah, okay.
And it had a making of the extended edition. Plus, it was the extended edition. I mean, it was a ton of extra stuff, and I mean, it was at least an extra half hour. Of stuff,
of fun stuff,
which was great.
Yeah.
I mean, it was still like for the four of us, it was like way too much money to be paying to go see the Iron Giant.
Yes,
but still, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that in the end I did it. Yeah, I'm real picky and choosy with Fathom events because it has to be something that either I really love and I've never had a chance to see on the big screen, like when I saw Psycho on the big screen through them, that was fantastic. Or just something that I feel is going to be special, like with the family, or to kind of re-experience, because it is a really expensive venture.
Exactly. Yeah, there's between them and then the Alamo Draft House does some of their special events, and some of them they do some interesting things. They did Blues Brothers, and I thought, oh, that would be great. But it was a whole like dinner event. It was like beer and a whole like 4-course meal, and tickets were like $50. And I thought, well, I enjoy a good meal, but
they just priced me out of that movie.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't know. I've got busy weekends coming up with things, so I haven't been out. Won't get out this weekend. Won't get out next week. Oh no, I do have a movie event tonight. That's right. That's one of my busy things that's keeping me from stuff. You've done this before, where you go and there's a movie and then there's like the live symphony, right?
Oh yeah,
it's Empire Strikes Back tonight, so I'm going to do that one. So I going with a friend, and he was having trouble finding a fourth. Because it was going to be like a double date thing. And he's like, well, maybe, Emma wants to go. And I thought, she's on fall break. It's her senior year in high school. It's a Saturday night. I'm like, Emma, do you want to go see Star Wars Empire Strikes Back with the live symphony? And she looked at me with this puzzled look on her face. I'm like, yeah, I know. You don't want to go hang out with old people. She's like, no, that sounds like the most amazing thing ever. Why would I say no to that? What kind of child do you think you raised? And I said, okay, sorry. I guess you're
That's
going.
Awesome.
I was like, all right, cool. Because she's not like, neither of my girls are like huge Star Wars fans. I mean, they enjoy them, but they're not like, oh my gosh, it's Star Wars. It must see. Speaking of Star Wars and must have things, I saw Nick posted in Discord about the Star Wars cookware. What do you call it? Peak Star Wars. But
peak Disney.
Yeah, peak Disney. Yes, but as you pointed, it's the La Crusette,
Le Creuset brand,
whatever. That's fancy French stuff. But even and that stuff is fairly pricey. But I went online and looked, and even the most expensive thing I could find there, just in their regular collection, was like $400. So it doesn't even touch the $900 for the Tatooine, Dutch oven. I thought that's just, I guess it's limited edition stuff, but I guess for the Star Wars fans that have more money than they know what to do with and enjoy baking, there's your Venn diagram.
Well, and that's what's funny is I don't think anyone who is paying $900 to get that Dutch oven is actually going to use it as a Dutch oven. I mean, that's an insane. I mean, I love my Dutch oven. One, I would never pay $900 for it. And two, I would never buy it and not use it. It's just silliness to me. But yeah, Le Creuset they are just so expensive.
Yeah.
Like, they have a store and I always like going and looking at stuff, but I'm like, to dream. But then I see all this stuff and I'm like,
yeah. Because you need to have the Han Solo carbonite, lid type. Yeah, it's.
If I get something, it'll just be the $25 Porg Pie Bird.
Yes,
because
yes, or the coaster.
That's affordable.
The $10 coasters. Yes.
Yeah. The trivets. Yeah. I mean, they've got a few things that aren't too bad, but still, it's like, Oh
my goodness.
Once again, Le Creuset proves that I just shouldn't bother looking at their stuff. Well, I had a pretty good week watching movies this week. It was, I did get out to see Joker. I got out to check that one out in theaters.
Okay.
So, which, was okay. I mean, I didn't love it. I loved Joaquin Phoenix. He's fantastic, but it's a very divisive film. A lot of people love it. A lot of people hate it. And I was like, I mean, it's a decent enough story, but it's nothing great. But
that's what I've heard. That seems to be the general consensus. Amazing performance, but the story just doesn't live up to the expectation, the hype. It's just not what, and I don't know that it's not delivering what people expected, but just, I guess it seems like, I don't want to say hollow, but that's sort of the impression I got of it's not really saying something. It's just, we're going to be dark to be dark.
The script seemed a pretty kind of just a straightforward take on the sorts of stuff, like very expected. And I appreciate that it's got kind of that 70s vibe. I really liked the look of it. And certainly it has its iconic moments, but mostly, again, it's because of Joaquin Phoenix. So I don't know. I'm interested to see what more people think of it, because so far I've seen a lot of just very divisive, 5 stars, the best movie, and oh my God, it's derisive Hollywood crap.
Yeah.
It's all over the place. But I thought it's fine. It's pretty. The storytelling was pretty telegraphed and simple. So I'm curious to see how the reactions to this one change. Give it 5 or 10 years. And see what people's reaction is to it at that point.
So would Scorsese consider this one cinema?
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I just watched Shark Tale for the first time with the kids last night.
Okay.
And I had forgot that Scorsese was in it. He plays a porcupine fish. Because it's like the sharks are kind of like the New York mobsters. You got Robert De Niro leading them, and his son is Jack Black, who wants to be a vegetarian, and that's the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
And Martin Scorsese is kind of like, he's the, he owes the money, all this sort of stuff. I don't know. It was, but I'm like, I was watching this. I'm like, Martin Scorsese, you're in Shark Tale, and here you are, like bad mouthing, all these other movies. It's like, come on, man. He must have just needed some money at a point.
Yeah.
Trying to raise money for one of his projects or something. But yeah, I've been busy trying to keep up on all my Stephen King watching too. So that's been fun.
That's a big list too. That's because you've got a lot of like straight to video stuff. I mean, that's
TV movies. There's tons of stuff. Yeah. But mostly it's like, it's one that I'll take. My wife and I are, listening to the audiobooks on our commutes. And so we're not watching stuff until we've read it. And so, we finished the book Full Dark, No Stars. And so, which is 4 short stories. And so we watched 1922 and A Good Marriage and Big Driver. And so those are 3 of the 4 that have been adapted. And now we're jumping all the way back to the beginning. We're almost done with Carrie. And we've got 3 adaptations of that movie, which I don't know if I remembered that there actually were 3 versions.
I know of 2.
There was a TV movie version in 2002.
Okay. That's the one that I gotcha.
Most people seem to forget that one ever happened. I think it came out because I don't know who, but people involved in The Rage, Carrie 2 weren't happy with where that film went. And so they made this one to kind of try to create a spin-off or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, my understanding of it, I mean, I haven't seen it yet, but my understanding is Carrie lives in the end, because the idea was they were going to use it as a pilot basically to a Carrie TV show.
Oh my. All right.
I don't even know what that would look like. It's like the Hulk, but she's going around, and when there's bad people, hurting somebody good, she'll take out the bad people and then move on to the next town where nobody knows her name.
But that was the screenplay for that was written by Brian Fuller. That's interesting. Did you ever watch Dead Like Me? I think it was on Showtime. Oh, okay. American Gods. Okay. Star Trek Voyager, Deep Space Nine. No, that was a name I recognized. So it may not be as bad as most TV movies are. I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'll let you know.
Okay.
I'll give you a report when I've gone through all 3 Carries and see how they are. So,
all right, that's cool. Yeah, that's quite the project.
I know. It's going to take forever. We'll see.
It's got to be like close to. That's got to be like over 50 titles. I have to imagine.
Oh yeah. Have you not looked at my list that I created over on Letterboxd?
Did you make your Stephen King Letterboxd list? Oh,
I did. Stephen King adaptations. It's at 100. 100.
That was my first instinct, but I thought, no, it can't be that high. It can't be.
I mean, it includes some of the dollar babies, which are he allows kind of indie filmmakers or students to license one of his short stories for $1 and make an adaptation of it. They can't release it for money. There's a lot of restrictions that come with it, and he obviously retains all the rights. They just have the right to basically make it and show it, and that's it. And a lot of them, like, he won't even allow to be on YouTube or Vimeo or anything like that. They're just like, once you've made it and it had a festival run, that's it.
Oh,
but there are a few that are out there, and so I threw some of them onto my list. So yeah, well, we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. I'm at 43 out of 100 having seen. So I still have a ways to go. And I'm still trying to decide, although I feel like I know what my answer is going to be, if I'm going to watch any of the derivative projects that come from it, like all the spin-offs and sequels and stuff. I really feel like I should just avoid all of those.
Yes.
Because in general, they're terrible.
Yes. Yeah, those are like, I was like, they do something like The Lawnmower Man, and then there's like three more that went straight to video because they're like, we can keep knocking this stuff out and people, they'll recognize the name and we'll just keep doing it. Yeah. I'd say if it's not directly if it's a derivative, continuation, then I'd say that's a legitimate no need to put onto the list.
Yeah, I may watch a few just for curiosity. Like I may end up watching Carrie 2, but that's the only sequel from that one. So I'm like, that's an easy one to just watch. But the other ones that have all these derivatives are Salem's Lot, Pet Sematary, Children of the Corn, Lawnmower Man. Sometimes They Come Back, The Mangler, and Creep Show. And I just, I don't know. I guess I'll wait and watch them first and then decide at that point, is it worth watching a sequel to this or not?
Yeah, well, because you guys already talked about Children of the Corn, right?
Oh, yeah, I can tell you right now,
you're not
I will not be
that.
watching any more Children of the Corn movies. I've seen the original, I've seen the TV remake, and then I just recently watched it was actually one of the Dollar Babies, but it was one that came out in the 80s and was released on video called Disciples of the Crow. And that was really terrible. So,
oh my gosh, there's 10 of these? There's Children of the Corn, Children of the Corn 2, Final Sacrifice, Children of the Corn 3, Urban Harvest, Children of the Corn 4, The Gathering, Children of the Corn 5, Fields of Terror, Children of the Corn 666, Isaac's Return, Children of the Corn Revelation, then perhaps a reboot. This may have been a TV series, 2009, Children of the Corn.
That's the remake.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you get Children of the Corn Genesis, and then Children of the Corn Runaway in 2018. So,
Yep.
There you go. It's a whole Children of the Corn cinematic universe.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that they have cranked so many of that story out. Like the movie's not that good. Why do people keep coming back to the well for that one?
I guess, idea. Well, I can't imagine. I mean, I guess it's anytime you can do a horror movie, that's going to draw in a certain crowd. And then, I think there's the cult-like nature of, the original story that's always, that is always an interesting subject matter of like, outsiders and a mysterious, cult type of thing. I mean, that'll always draw people in. So, oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Not a series that I would want to dip my toes back into, really. It's a tough one. And then this is my other question. Like when we finally read the book, am I going to go back and rewatch the movie? Like I have yet to decide if I'm doing rewatches for ones I've seen.
Well, maybe after reading the book, it'll give you a different context to appreciate the film and its artfulness in storytelling.
Maybe. I feel like that's a bit of a stretch.
Yes, very much. Sure.
Yeah. I don't know. No, it's interesting. I'm I think more amazed that Stephen King has just created so much content that has been adapted. Like looking at the list of stuff, I'm like, wow. One, he's not a lazy writer, and two, he obviously taps into something because people love adapting his stuff.
Oh yeah, no, that's. He's got a I don't know what if he's one of these people, and I can't remember the name for it, but it's like I don't want to say a disorder, but like this compulsive writing thing. And I'm trying to remember if it's Stephen King and like Joyce Carol. It's these two like prolific writers that just always seem to like have like 2 novels and collections of short stories coming out every year. It's because I don't know how he just consistently turns out. Now the quality, of course, may vary, but yeah, he's just found. And I hate to say it's like a formula because each thing has its own little strength. But yeah, somehow he's just got this ability to keep churning out fairly compelling stories, and he's got his own little Stephen King universe that he's created.
Right,
we
right,
talked
right.
about that when we were talking about, it and all of that. But there's, even on Hulu, there's that Castle Rock series, which
Yeah, right.
So he's like in every single media format you can find Stephen King.
Well, what's funny is because we're just listening to Carrie, and I had never read Carrie. I'd only ever seen the movie.
Okay.
Reading the book has been an interesting experience because the way it's written just doesn't. It's not a straightforward story. It's a lot of like, this is a news report that you're getting, and then you're getting excerpts from one of the survivors telling her story. And it's really interesting the way that it's structured. But something that we noticed right away, and this is his very first book that he had published, we're kind of listening along, and then all of a sudden he says, what was it? Teddy Duchamp's, gas station or something. And I missed it. And my wife's like, did he just say Teddy? And we're like, oh my God, that's the character from Stand By Me.
Yeah.
The one played by Corey Feldman.
Right.
And so he ended up in this town as an older person with his own gas station that Carrie blows up. And I'm like, what? That's crazy, especially as his first book. Now, I know that, I don't know if he had written Stand By Me before he wrote Carrie, and I know that the Stand By Me characters are based on characters from his own childhood because that story is from his own childhood. So I wonder if that was just a character that he had been kind of knocking around and put in this book and then found, said, okay, now I'm going to finally put him in Stand By Me and tell that story. Yeah. But like right out of the gate, I'm like, that is so interesting that we're already getting that Stephen King universe. We just didn't know it yet because Carrie was the first book that he'd put out.
Exactly. Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to really enjoy kind of seeing how all that unfolds as we go through this. It should be really
see
interesting.
all the crossovers and connections, and that's he's got a big world of a lot of books to get yourself through. So
yes.
Enjoy that.
May take some time. Well, they're fun to listen to. That's the thing.
Yes.
It's like,
even
when the book isn't necessarily one of my favorite stories, the way he writes them, I think, is really engrossing.
Yes, he's got a very accessible writing style that you can just sit down and you just jump right in, and he will keep the story moving along.
Yeah. Well, what movie news do we have this week? I know we already talked about the big Star Wars cookware, but what else is happening in the world of movies?
You know what they're doing with all that money they're going to be making off that cookware? Supposedly rumors that Disney may be trying to just buy Spider-Man from Sony for the price of $5 billion to buy Spider-Man / Peter Parker from Sony.
Ouch. I wish I had something that they'd buy for me for $5 billion. Because I'd say, sure, here you go.
So, this was an article I came across, and I thought, okay, this is just rumored stuff, all of that. But they said, this isn't that unreasonable, given that like each Spider-Man movie has made pretty much close to $1 billion. They knock out a few more Spider-Man movies, and this is basically paid for itself. So even though that seems like a ridiculously large number, when it comes to, Spider-Man, Marvel movies, if they can put together a solid, trilogy, they're going to easily clear that $5 billion. I think people will show up for that. I don't know what that would do for the Venom, in the development of that going forward, because who was it? Sony that did Venom? Is that part of the?
They've got their
whole
their characters that they are allowed to do stories with. So they did the Venom film.
But if Marvel, if Disney just buys just Spider-Man, then that would sort of undermine, I guess, Sony's ability to do anything with Venom, unless there are storylines they can, there may be enough out there, but I think was the draw for that franchise getting started was, Venom and building to some Spider-Man stuff that fans would want to see. Because was it Spider-Man 3? The Tobey Maguire one that had the sort of Venom storyline they were trying to sandwich in there somewhere?
Oh, yes. Yes, they did. That's the one.
That's the one. Okay.
Topher Grace and all of his menacing glory.
So my other Spider-Man news is now apparently, anything Spider-Man related, and the fans go just crazy for it. And rampant speculation because Tom Hardy apparently posted a picture of himself in a Spider-Man costume and then quickly deleted it, which led to all kinds of speculation about Venom 2 and Spider-Man and Sony and all of this. So I don't know what to make of that other than it is October, Halloween is around the corner, and perhaps Tom Hardy is thinking of going as Spider-Man for Halloween. I don't know.
Right?
Yes. That's
yeah.
the logical.
But, but people will speculate anyway.
Yes. So that's a little bit of Spider-Man news that Disney may end up buying, outright from Sony. So that'll be something to see if that's the ultimate resolution to that. And then, yes, whether we ever actually see another Venom movie to be determined.
Well, yeah, I'm curious to see the new Venom movie because now Andy Serkis is on board directing it. So that piques my curiosity. I still haven't seen his Jungle Book film, but he's always been a guy who I found interesting. So I'm curious to see what he does with Venom because I wasn't a hater of Venom. I thought it was fine. I thought it was fun and entertaining, and I think it gets a lot of hate, but
yeah, it felt very much sort of in the vein of what we would typically get from a comic book movie, sort of pre the reign of Marvel, with what we would see in the late 90s, early 2000s with comic book movies where, yeah, it hit all the notes, it did everything, but it didn't do much outside the scope of that. Marvel created this whole larger thing, but I'm thinking of like and these are probably not great examples, but like the Fantastic Four that, they did in the 90s with, Chris Evans and Michael Chiklis. Was that
the 90s or was that the 2000s?
Was that 2000? Maybe early 2000s? I can't remember how
2005.
Okay. So yes, early 2000s.
The 90s was the one that no one ever saw. That was the
that's right.
Roger Corman one.
Right. So yeah, that sort of mid 2000s there, that's sort of the vibe I got out of Venom. It wasn't, a great film. It was entertaining. I had a good time with it, and it did what some interesting things with that character. But yeah, I don't know. I think it deserved, so much scorn heaped upon it because it wasn't, I don't know what people were expecting. It's a darker film. It's focused on one character. It's not something that's part of this larger universe yet. So
it's the Joker of the Spider-Man universe.
Yeah,
come on.
It's the Joker of the Spider-Man universe.
All sorts of messages. I'm sure that they're in there. It's a story of mental illness. Really.
Yes. Well, speaking of messages, are you talking about Easter eggs that people are seeing in the Joker film, or that they think that they're seeing in the Joker film?
I don't know. I haven't been up on that. What did I miss? Because apparently, are there some good ones?
No, because apparently why am I drawing a blank on his name? The director,
Todd Phillips.
Todd Phillips said, no, he did not put any DC Easter eggs in this movie. He doesn't do Easter eggs. So anything you think you're seeing, he did not put stuff in there.
That's on you.
Yes. You're the one with the mental disorder. Yes. You've got mental disorder. Stop putting stuff in my movies that isn't there. But again, it goes to sort of that rabid fandom of trying to find every single little clue or, trying to make meaning that isn't necessarily there. But yeah, I guess he's come out and said, no, that's not what this film is about. It's not about connecting to the larger DC universe.
That's a tough movie to go back and revisit. Just to look for Easter eggs.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine because it's like once was enough for me.
Yeah.
It's a heavy film.
Well, and then getting out of comic book land, I saw this morning. It was late breaking news last night that I didn't see is we lost Robert Forster last night. Brain cancer, apparently, on that. So,
that's so sad.
Yeah.
He's an actor who I didn't really know much of until Tarantino kind of gave him a career resurgence in Jackie Brown. And then he was everywhere. And then I started realizing, I'd seen all these other movies with him in it without even realizing it. And he's such a great actor. And it's really sad to see him gone.
Oh, yeah. And I think I want to say this might, I'm trying to remember if Medium Cool is on the Criterion channel or not. But that's one that I remember hearing about, oh gosh, like maybe in college or of just like a very unconventional film or sort of a really true documentary, you know, that Haskell Wexler put together. And it's one that, you know, I'm intrigued by because it's sort of a unique opportunity to revisit something that, to me, I have a sort of close connection with because it's Chicago in the summer of '68. And that was, my dad was in art school downtown at the time. And being in high school, wanting to go downtown, my mom was always like really anxious and nervous because, and I thought, why? It's just downtown Chicago. It's not any craziness going on. But knowing that, you know, as an adult now, you know, 15 years or so is not that big of a, it doesn't seem that long ago. Heck, I can't even, you know, 2005 versus the 90s, I can't even accurately state when, you know, Fantastic Four came out. So for her, 1968 versus like 1980, you know, mid 80s, yeah, it was a dramatic time downtown, you know, the violence with the police and protesting and rioting. And so now I'm curious to see a film about that, to see what it was really like down there, what my parents' memories are of that time. So yeah, it's one that's, I got to go into Letterboxd, put it on my list. I got to keep adding to my list of things.
You have to check it out.
But,
well, I did, if anyone's interested, over on our Facebook group, I did post the story from Variety about him. And then if you want to post what your favorite Robert Forster movie is, hop in over there and post it. We've got he was just in El Camino, which came out on Netflix a couple days ago, yesterday, actually.
Midnight, wasn't it? Midnight, yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so yeah, he's an interesting actor that's worth remembering. So
definitely.
All right. Well, should we do trailers?
I guess we should do trailers.
All right. I don't think we have any red bands or A24s for the Steel.
We haven't had an A24 in a while that I can recall. It's been at least a few weeks. So
a couple weeks. I feel like I thought you just posted one. Didn't Pete just had one with the Adam Sandler movie? That was like
that's right. That's right. That was. I forgot about that one. Well, because I was thinking, Adam Sandler. There's no way that's A24. Why would Adam Sandler be in an A24
Adam
movie?
Sandler do it? Yeah,
exactly.
Right. Okay. Except it's the Safdie brothers. So there you go.
Yes, that is true. All right. So I posted first, so I'll take that with So this is. The reason I picked this trailer is I'm hoping to talk about this one with JJ and perhaps have a conversation in comparison to one of our more recent trailer rewinds of Leave No Trace, because this is the story of a daughter who is faced with the responsibility to take care of her addict veteran father. So this whole, father-daughter sort of having to fend for themselves and a daughter having to take responsibility for her dad. Some common themes with Leave No Trace. However, this one looks to be a little bit darker than Leave No Trace. But this is the first film from Annabelle, I'm going to butcher this, Attanasio?
That sounds right.
Okay, there we go. So this is her first. She's writing and directing this. I've never seen The Nick. I think that's a Cinemax series with Clive Owen, but I know she was in that. And her father is also a writer that's received several nominations. Paul. He was nominated for Quiz Show. He also wrote Donnie Brasco, Sphere. So there's some writing skills in that family. Although people may not be big fans of all of his movies, but she's stepping out on her own here. And smaller film hit South by Southwest in the spring, got picked up for distribution. It's going to be hitting theaters November 13th. This is Mickey and the Bear with one of those guys, James Badge Dale. And I sort of recognize this guy, dig into his IMDb. I'm like, oh yeah, he's one of those faces that's been around here or there, sort of a character actor. When you look at IMDb and see, oh, he was in The Departed, World War Z, Iron Man 3. Like, who? But yeah, one of these character actors. So playing the father, and newcomer that's been getting quite a bit of buzz for her role as Camilla Morone is the daughter, Mickey, in this one. So this is a trailer. I'm definitely seeding the trailer rewind with hopes of revisiting this one sometime.
Look how clever you are.
Look at me. Look at me just plotting things out. But even if I wasn't doing the trailer rewind connection on this one, this is one that just, again, this type of story is something that I'm drawn to, these family dynamics, particularly father-daughter stories. I hope I'm not this type of father. I really don't think so, but who knows how my kids perceive me. But there's something about the closeness of the story of it keeps it small, difficult challenges in that dynamic of a father and daughter, and a daughter who's growing up and about to step out on her own, and what responsibility she feels for taking care of her father versus having to do what she needs to do for herself. So this is sort of, I guess, right in my wheelhouse of, tense dramas that are probably going to have a downer ending and be really depressing and heart-wrenching, but that's what I'm bringing this week. Yes, exactly. Yes. So what did you think of this one?
I thought it was right in your wheelhouse as soon as I watched it. I'm like, there's no doubt that Steve would have picked this trailer. It was a complete obvious choice for you, which was great. I mean, it looks like a really interesting movie. I hadn't heard about it. I do love James Badgedale. He pops up in lots of things, and he's always really great. I really do enjoy him quite a bit in a variety of his projects. So seeing him kind of get a chance to be a little bit of a bigger character is fantastic. I love getting to see him kind of playing this rough role. I think is fair to say. It looks like a tough one, But yeah, I'm really curious about this one to see kind of what they're going to do with this story, and and you're right, the actress who plays the daughter, Camilla, looks like it was watching this trailer reminded me of when I saw The Descendants. And Shailene Woodley totally was like, wow, where did she come from?
Right.
Because that was kind of like her bursting onto the scene, and she's just been everywhere since then. And this kind of feels the same for Camilla Morone. So so we shall see. But yeah, I'm very curious about this one.
Yes,
it's a good pick.
Right. Yep, November, right time for the holiday season.
Indeed. Well, speaking of the holiday season, I went with something that's a little more in line for the Halloween season.
Yes.
Even if it's not being released anytime soon. I am looking at the latest iteration of Henry James's The Turning of the Screw. We've talked about The Innocents on our podcast, which is just a fantastic, wonderful film that I really love. It's a creepy story. And this is a new version of it called The Turning, directed by Floria Sigismondi, who is she is a director primarily known for her kind of like the amazing stuff that she did in a lot of music videos. She kind of became majorly known for that, and hasn't done a lot of movies. The only other movie she directed was The Runaways, kind of the biopic from 2010. And then she has directed episodes of TV shows like from Hemlock Grove, Daredevil, The Handmaid's Tale, American Gods. But really, it's just what she's done in the music video world that is where she's kind of made her mark. This looks gorgeous. It looks like the hands of a video director at work here. It's just a beautiful trailer, the way that it's all put together, creepy as all get out. And it's a really interesting story. So I'm very curious about what they're going to do with this more kind of modern telling of The Turning of the Screw. Mackenzie Davis plays our primary character, the caretaker, who is hired, not the caretaker really, but the nanny, I guess you would say, hired to take care of these two kids who may or may not be possessed by ghosts, is the whole thing. Mackenzie Davis is an interesting actress. She's popped up in a number of things recently, including The Martian and Blade Runner 2049. And Finn Wolfhard from the It films and from Stranger Things he is on board too as the boy. So I am super excited about this. It looks like a really creepy gothic take on the story. What do you think?
Ew. Yeah, it gets under my skin. It's creepy. Because I saw that it was, Henry James, and I thought Henry James didn't write creepy, whatever, roaming hands, just, I'm like, what? But of course there's the gothic horror novels, and then sort of having to modernize that for what's creepy and unsettling in 2020 when this comes out, and this does everything. Just the tone of this, it plays with this. It's a psychological horror when you've got the nanny, governess, whatever she is, that come take care of the kids, and the kids just aren't right. There's something off. You've got the weird architecture of a huge house. Forbidden wings of the house can't go there. I mean, it's got all the tropes that I would expect for a movie like this. But I have to admit, this is something that initially I just was going to write off as like, oh, okay, it's one of these films like that's just not my thing, like The Conjuring and those type of things. But there's something about the psychological element to this of, is this in her mind? What's going on? There's the whole mystery of what happened with the parents. I'm intrigued. One I might have to go see by myself because no one in my family would be up for anything like this.
I'll go with you, Steve.
Yeah, maybe. But I think the cast, that's what's drawing me to this, is that if it's drawing the talents of Mackenzie Davis, Finn Wolfhard, I thought they're in a position to be really selective about their projects. So this is something that I feel there's something that drew them to this story that to me maybe validates this as something maybe a little bit above typical sort of just supernatural sort of spooky film. So, yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Right now, it only interestingly says expected January 24th, 2020. So it doesn't even have an official release date yet. It's just an expected January date, which doesn't bode well. That makes me really nervous. But I guess we'll learn more as it gets a little closer and see if it is something that just fizzles at the box office or actually something worth checking out. So.
Yeah.
So this week we are looking at Rabid, the next in our Cronenberg series. And what were the options that we put forth again for people to vote on?
So it was really close. And I wasn't sure which way it was going to go because we had Porn Stars Gone Legit, Patient Zero movies, and then, of course, ultimately winning out by one vote, Medical Procedures Gone Horribly Awry. Now, I will ask you, because when we were throwing this list out, you said you had a couple Porn Stars Gone Legit films that you guys had discussed on the show, and I think
Pete said that because I wasn't on with you guys last weekend.
Oh, was it? Okay, so I thought you weren't there when we. No, you're right. No, you're right.
I thought it was just you and Pete.
Oh, it must have just been I. Okay, so we'll have to ask Pete,
or maybe it was me. And I don't remember. But anyway, I'm sure that he was talking. My sense of who he was talking about was Sylvester Stallone. That's who I think that he was implying there.
We'll have to get an answer from Pete on it, because he said there were several that he knew off the top of his head that you guys had covered on the show.
That's 8 movies. That's 8. I mean, I think he was talking about the number of movies that he'd been in.
Perhaps.
That's my best guess. That's my best guess. Because otherwise, I don't know. I don't track porn actors too often.
Okay. We'll have to follow up with Pete on his dark and shadowy porn issues. Okay. But so this week we were talking about the Medical Procedures Gone Horribly Awry, which I think fits with October because everything that I came across was, it's not like you get a nice serious drama with medical. It's the horribly awry part that I think sort of pushes this into a specific genre of film. You're not going to get a lot of, maybe some comedies I guess, because something that goes horribly wrong could be comic. I don't know.
It could be. I honestly struggled with this list.
Okay.
Because the medical procedures kind of morphed into medical experiments a little more with my list. Okay. So that's where mine ended up a little bit. So procedures, I honestly could only think of one thing that was actually a procedure, or maybe two that I would include. And one of them, I don't like the movie at all, so I didn't even want to put it on my list. So,
okay. All right.
So anyway, let's, why don't you kick us off though?
Okay. Well, because I struggle with medical procedure, because then I'm like, for it to be a medical procedure, does it have to be like there's a doctor involved? We're in a hospital, because that really, keeps things really narrow focus on this. And again, everything I'm thinking is sort of in the horror realm, and that's not a genre I traffic in very much. But in keeping with, I guess I'm going to go with what I always like to have one, that's going to be pointing to another, something we've talked about in another show. So it's probably stretching the medical procedure part a little bit. But one of the things that came to mind of where we've got some type of, not even quite surgery, but early on, and I guess it's what sets off the chain of events in the movie Raw, is we've got the sisters together, and the one's trying to bikini wax her sister, and the tape gets stuck, and then she goes to use scissors and then ends up severing her finger, which then her sister starts chewing on. Which to me is something gone horribly wrong. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen Raw. But that's my first one, because it's where you don't think you're going to end up in a cannibalistic movie with sisters just preparing for a school dance. Nope.
Right.
There we are.
Oof, that's a good one. Yeah. Well, for I'm torn, because you're right. It is something that can very much go horror. Because of the nature of the gone awry.
Yeah.
And so I'm really tempted to, since it is October, to kind of stick with that sort of theme for Halloween's sake.
Okay.
And I would have put this on my list. It's a film I never want to watch again. But it's definitely a medical experiment more so than a procedure. But I think the person in question who performs said experiment might say it is a procedure, kind of a test procedure. It's a horribly gruesome film that really is just purely a sick mind putting it into fruition. And I guarantee that neither you nor Pete have seen it. It is The Human Centipede.
I had a feeling.
Yeah. Oh,
there's what, 3 of those? Is there 3, 4?
I know there were at least 2. I don't know. I don't. After watching the first one, I'm like, I don't need to watch any more of these.
Yeah. Ugh. Nope. Never seen it. No desire to. Yeah.
No, and it's definitely, it was more of a curiosity to kind of watch it and see exactly what they did with this. And I mean, they did exactly what you'd expect. And it's like, okay, I don't really need to revisit this one. But I will say it is one of those movies where the people involved in it are clearly in just like having a ball, like doing just kind of the wackiest sort of movie. and Dieter Laser, or I think that's how you say his name, Dieter Laser, who plays the Mad Doctor. I mean, he's just creepy and he's great. And he's only popped up in what was the other thing that I saw him in outside of the Human Centipede movies? It was I'm blanking on it. I can't remember. Anyway, not much. I don't know much that he's been in, but he's obviously enjoying himself. Anyway, that's probably more than needs to be said about the Human Centipede. Let's move on.
Yes. Okay. Let us do that too. Probably the most. I don't know. Again, when it was medical, I thought, okay, medical. Where do medical things happen? Medical things happen in med school. Where do things go wrong in med school? Oh, I don't know. When you try to kill each other and bring yourselves back from the dead, of course things go wrong in Flatliners, whichever version of the film you happen to have seen. But I grew up in the 90s, so of course the gold standard of Flatliners. I don't know, with that amazing cast, Kevin Bacon, Kiefer Sutherland, Julia Roberts, Oliver Platt, and is there one more I'm missing? I think that's...
Did you say Kiefer Sutherland?
Kiefer Sutherland, yes. So, yes. I think, you traffic and, trying to play God, bringing each other back from the dead, something's going to come back with you. And that, to me, counts as gone horribly awry.
Yeah, that was Steel.
Oh, okay.
That's a good one. That was a good one. I have my next one. Again, it's another mad scientist experiment sort of movie, but it's a classic. How could you not bring up Frankenstein from 1931? James Whale's film. I think you could argue that it's not exactly a medical experiment or medical procedure when he takes a dead body and reanimates it, but he's doing science on a body and it goes wrong. And I really do enjoy that original film. I think Boris Karloff is great as the monster, and I really have a great time with that film. So Frankenstein, that's my second choice.
Okay. I didn't want to top my list with this one, but I feel like part of my responsibility in list is to point people to things they may not have seen. And this film may not be for everybody. I saw it on cable TV in the 80s. Only saw it once. And I think I saw it, or maybe it was when I was working at the video store, brought it home probably around Halloween time, but I know it's become sort of a cult classic. This is 1985's Reanimator, based on an H.P. Lovecraft story. I don't remember the entire story. I remember there's basically a student and there's a severed head. Things go horribly wrong. It's a gruesome, gory film. Production values of the mid 80s, I'm sure it's cheesy as all get out nowadays, before we could do CG stuff. So lots of practical cheapo effects, but I just remember it being a really unusual and unique, darkly twisted, strange story. And I thought, for anybody that perhaps is younger and hadn't heard of this, maybe something to put on the list to check out. If you hate it or are repulsed by it, I don't take any blame for that. This is on you. I'm warning you ahead of time, but
it's your fault.
That's your fault. But have you seen Reanimator, Andy? This seems like something you might have. Oh, okay.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
It's an interesting. It's a fun horror film that spurred a bunch of sequels like Bride of the Reanimator, stuff like that. It's definitely one that's worth checking out. I think it just works really well as kind of that genre horror. It's fun. It's watching. I mean, he's a crazy character too.
Yeah.
It's just watching him kind of reanimating these heads and animals and whatever. It's just all over the place. Really, kind of a fun one. So I'd say it's worth checking out.
Okay.
All right. So, my final pick, I'm going to go with a non-horror.
Okay.
Mostly because I feel I can't recall this popping up on a list. I know at least one of my other choices has been on lists before. I don't think I've brought this one up, and I don't recall if other people have. It's more of a psychological experiment, and to that end, I guess it kind of counts as a medical experiment because psychology can be medical, I guess, maybe.
Yes,
I'm stretching a little bit. It is the ever fascinating movie of The Truman Show, where we get to see an experiment on putting a person into a false environment for his entire life and seeing how it plays out. It's not a film I've seen a lot, but it's a film I really found fascinating, and I think that Peter Weir did an amazing job putting the story together with his cast headed up by Jim Carrey and Ed Harris. So it's a really interesting film, and it's interesting to see the way that kind of that whole psychology of this plays out over the course of the movie. So that's my final pick. Is it too much of a stretch?
Sure. No. Anytime you're gonna tell people to go watch The Truman Show, I'm gonna stand behind that because it's a brilliant film. Works on so many levels. A nearly perfect film. I think that's one that if people haven't seen in a while, definitely worth revisiting. I will always back The Truman Show. Excellent choice.
Did you have any backups?
Yes. So again, I didn't know if it was considered a medical procedure with The Fly, Jeff Goldblum. And then, of course, this is one I saw like as a young kid. Maybe it must have been around Halloween time on WGN, like, I don't know, Saturday afternoon or something. It's a really, really bad movie, but it's got Bruce Dern in it. The Incredible Two-Headed Transplant. I don't know if you've ever seen this movie.
I've never even heard of that one.
Bruce Dern plays a scientist who is like compulsively like taking animals and putting, so there's like a two-headed fox, there's a two-headed rabbit, and something, I don't know the whole story, but there's something where there's like, I don't know, some prisoner escapes and I don't know, he has something and he transplants the head. So you've got, but it's the 70s. And so you've got, I think it's a Caucasian guy, like really large guy with an African-American head also attached there. So I don't know if there was some like racial, commentary going on there. I don't know. It's a strange film, but I think maybe the prisoner sort of takes control and goes on a crime spree. I don't know. Incredible Two-Headed Transplant.
Wow.
Was the other one I could think of because it just was one of those images stuck in my head from being a small child. Big guy with another head stuck on his shoulder.
That's hilarious.
Do you have any backups there?
Mine were also kind of like, I guess they're both more experimental. I had Clockwork Orange and and Jacob's Ladder. Those were my backup. Those were the other ones that I had. So yeah. So anyway, a good list. I think some pretty interesting stuff, all told here.
Yeah.
And now we got to figure out what the heck we're talking about for next week.
What are you talking about next week?
Holy cow. So next week's movie, we're talking about kind of it's a little bit of a departure for David Cronenberg. This is his the movie that people say, "Oh, David Cronenberg directed this one." It's but he says it's like any child, it's still his. It's just it's a shift. It's different. It is Fast Company. It is basically just a straight up car racing movie. So it's it's a sports movie. It's it's got it's kind of came out in that car exploitation era. So it's definitely very much of just kind of that genre of that. It's Cronenberg bills it as kind of a Western in modern time. So I mean, there's something we could do. Movies kind of with a Western thread or something like that.
Oh, sort of a Western disguised in another genre type of thing? Yeah,
I think that might be good for the list.
Okay, and then we've got cars and racing, and so it's I have not seen this. It's okay. Looking at the description, it's a famous
few
drag
people probably
racer.
have.
Okay. Well, I see in the notes here it said that it never saw a proper wide-scale American theatrical run because the U.S. distribution company went bankrupt. So
yes.
Okay. Right. So this is one that. But drag racing. Okay.
And drag racing is one of those car. I mean, I think we could just do racing movies.
Racing movies, car racing movies, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so car racing movies, and then we had Westerns disguised in another genre. All right, so we've got two.
Okay, and what is our main storyline here? Do we have? Is it a good guy going bad? What do we have? Oh no, we've got corrupt management.
It's basically corrupt. It's kind of it's not corrupt, but I guess he's a little corrupt, but he is John Saxon is the company representative for Fast Company, which is an oil company, and representing our main characters, and he he's taking money on the side. But he doesn't like his main racer, and so kind of pushes him out and hires the opponent. And
so evil corporations, is that what we have?
We do, and we could do an evil corporation movie. That's fine. I think that works. So if we do, so car racing movies, which is a nice big broad topic, westerns disguised in another genre, which is pretty interesting, and evil corporations. I think that's a fun way to go.
All right.
Well, the poll is going up in our Show Talk channel over on Discord. So get over there and get your votes in. We'll take votes through next Friday, and then we'll lock it in, and that will be our list topic for next Saturday matinee for next week. So good.
Well done,
all right,
sir.
Man. Well, I think that's it. So have a good rest of your day.
Yes, and you as well.
Yes, and thank you all of our wonderful Patreon supporters. We appreciate you for supporting us over there. You can check it out at thenextreel.com/Patreon and sign up. It's very, very cheap. Less than a cup of coffee a month. Whatever it is. So sign up. You can get access to shows early, and you can get in on joining our pre-show chats on our film boards. There's all sorts of good stuff. So, and it's just a great way to kind of keep the tanks full over here as we keep cranking out material for all of you. Otherwise, this Saturday matinee will be released to our Patreon supporters later today, and for everyone else, I believe they're dropping on Mondays now in our regular show feed. So. And I guess that's it. So until next week, Steve, thanks for joining me, and have a great rest of your day, everybody.
Hondo.